everybody, and welcome to another Vengeance God stream. Thank you very much to the fine folks at Cryptic Studios for giving us a raid today, right after their stream. And big thank you to the person that we are joined by right now. You know him, you love him. He's waving his entire hand off. Ladies and gentlemen, it's lead designer Jeremy Randall.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Good. I'm glad. Halo just Cal says that's John Star Trek.
Wait. Let's get this out of the way. Curland here.
Oh, perfect. Your performance has only improved over the years.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. Hello to Cairo. Hello to Hunter Bahamut. Hello to the Sink and Pundus. Pundus, why are you still awake? Hello to Dijon Cyanide, Incredible G, Trexpert, Tubby Candy Hoarder. Thank you very much for the follow, and thanks for being
I like
here.
that name.
Right?
It's me.
We got a bunch of new followers today, and unfortunately it's not showing me them all, so I will say thank you to all of our new followers and leave it at that. But really appreciate you guys showing up for this, and again, really appreciate Sona for the fun stream this morning and the raid. So, Mr. Jeremy Randall.
Me.
You now have the godlike powers to control Star Trek Online.
A lesser deity. Like the Romans that Kirk came across.
Yeah, for sure. You're like a Hercules to Thomas's Zeus.
That's probably it's in the ballpark. Yeah.
It's probably a offensive comparison to make, but anyway. Folks, go ahead and throw questions in chat. Unlike with last week, we're gonna, because Jeremy, when he pops up on my stream, it's usually more of a Q&A focused thing. So we'll send him questions as we go. But to get us started off, we had a conversation years ago where I expressed that you would make a really good lead designer. And you said, I don't want that job. And now you're here. What happened?
There are still parts of me that don't want this job, if I'm to be perfectly honest. I love being in the trenches. I love being the one actually making things and making improvements to the game and touching the code and the data on a daily basis. And in my role as lead designer, I don't get to do a lot of that. I maybe spend like 3 or 4 hours a week in the engine these days, and the rest of it is all in production meetings and various one-on-ones and stuff like that, and just guiding the team.
You miss your spreadsheets?
I do miss my spreadsheets sometimes. Yeah. But I also think that for this time in SDO's history, not to toot my own horn too much here, but I can't think of a better candidate who is still around and available. Everyone else went off and got other jobs.
I mean, Landon's back on Neverwinter, so you can just grab him.
Yeah, I did hear that just recently.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. You're my favorite, but you're my top choice as well.
How did it happen is basically because, again, like all the other designers that were on STO had left or found other options or were let go during the course of all of these transitions in the last few days or years. And that's not to say that I'm like the last pick, but at the same time, like DECA, when they were still the leadership of DECA, recognized that not only was my experience, but also just my attitude and my willingness to be a mentor for the team and everything like that really put me in a position where they began relying on me more and more to lead the team. And so then it just became okay, that's your title now because you're already doing the job. And then with the transition back from all the DECA employees now being folded into Cryptic, it was just natural to keep me in the position that I'd kind of naturally morphed myself into. Yeah.
Nice.
But I mean, even though I hadn't really, like, that old conversation between you and I is still perfectly valid. That version of me didn't want this job. But it's been several years. You grow and you change over the time that you get to spend on a project like this. And I think also that the act of stepping in as a mentor for all the formerly DECA employees that came on board in the last couple of years really showed me that I can get a level of enjoyment and emotional satisfaction, professional satisfaction out of being a mentor, being a leader for this team,
I
and
was
so it's great.
I was gonna say, I think the thing you were underselling about yourself back then is how good you are at interfacing with, fellow developers and mentoring people, and just basically being a good boss. So I'm
Mhm.
glad you've come to realize that as well.
Well, I think the connective tissue as well, not just for the design teams, but also helping to facilitate how design interacts with art disciplines and with programming and production and community and all of that. I think that that's an area where I've always um, it's been one of my skill sets that not every designer has, is being able to interface with people outside of design effectively.
Have you had any opportunity to, like, change or streamline your processes for systems or how systems interfaces with other groups since you took the throne by blood?
To be perfectly honest, yes, I have had the opportunity, but it hasn't always worked out, and we're still working through some of those new processes as we speak.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's
the
that.
opportunity's been there.
Hey, that's new processes, man. It happens all the time.
Yep.
All right, we have a question from chat. I think this was from Trexpert. First of all, Augie says he enjoyed arguing with you. I assume that was back in the day. Trexpert wants to know if you had a choice of a SAG actor to take over your role as Kurland, who would you
Oh,
choose?
Samwise Gamgee. I forgot the actor's name.
Sean Astin.
Ron Aston.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think that would be my first pick. I've always been a fan of his. I identify with him.
I interviewed him once, not knowing I was going to. The interview that I got just said the cast of the 2012 Ninja Turtles cartoon, and they listed
Oh,
out everybody else but him. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Sean's not going to be there. And then he sat down across from me and Mei Ling and was like, "Hi, I'm Sean," and we were both like, "We know." Oh.
that's cool. Yeah, all the
Yeah.
way back to Goonies, as
Oh,
Halo said in the chat. Yep.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Are you reading the chat? Are you reading
No,
what's
no, of course not.
All right. We've got a let's see. What about Nick NB with our first actual systems question. Has it ever been considered hold on. I've got a and Nick is a lovely person, but this sentence is a nightmare. I have to retranslate it in my head. Um uh Have you ever considered making a single target entwined tactical matrices trait for beam overload, rapid, and high yield? And why or why not is what I would add to that question.
Yeah, that kind of play space is very ripe for exploration. Usually, how the process of creating a new starship trait, though, comes about typically is not by looking for a niche that needs to be filled, but more about thinking about the canon references and the identity of the ship that we're trying to build, and then taking that identity and those defining characteristics of what we consider to be part of that ship, and then seeing what sort of mechanics we can fit in there. And usually, we kind of come at it from both directions, but the ship's identity comes first. Usually, there are times when it doesn't, but it usually comes from that direction. Times where it doesn't, for example, is like the recent Breen ship. We knew that there was a big community request for something that affected fire at will, so we put it on that ship. There was honestly nothing in the IP or the film that suggested that they were particularly good at fire at will. So sometimes it comes from that direction, but we usually try to ship identity first.
Yeah. Well,
There's no reason we wouldn't do it, though, I guess, to clarify the question.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of finding the right place to do it and finding the right inspiration to make sure that it fits with the identity of whatever ship we're building.
Ragnats, no idea who that could be, wants to know what the worst ability in STO is and why is it cover shield. Now I think
it is cover shield.
Yep.
Actually, so one of our current systems designers who you might have met, Mayo, is actually pretty well known in our internal playtest for trolling us with cover shield.
Nah.
And
Dental used to do that.
His purpose is like, look what I can do with this power that shouldn't be able to do this.
It shouldn't exist.
And like, so yeah, Setsuo is in the chat.
Yeah,
that's Mayo. Yeah, so I have it on my list of hit lists. I'm considering a way of potentially rebuilding Cover Shield so that it still works mechanically the same, but gives us less of an opportunity to grief with it.
Yeah.
But I don't know when I'll have the time to write that up.
I
I'd
remember
love to change it though.
I remember seeing your hit list on the whiteboard back in the office.
Hmm.
That was always fun. How high or below in priority is Cover Shield above Pet Tab?
No comment.
uh, I just remember the first couple of weeks on the job being like, "What the hell? Why do they want to? What is a pet tab?" And then finally figuring it out after it's been asked
Yeah.
for like 20 times. uh,
These days, my hit list is more esoteric things like dilithium economy and inventory management and things like that. Very high level stuff. It's not so much like fix this one power or
yeah.
things like that. But it's
Uh,
still got one.
Tech Travis wants to know: is it a design philosophy or engine limitation that keeps the number carriers at the number of pets they have? So like why you don't have a ship with, I mean, he suggested things,
300 pets.
yeah, but he suggested like, 8 or 12, but yeah, like why, in canon these ships would have 297 fighters.
Hmm.
Is what I'll say.
It's a little bit of both. If you get right down to it, more design decision. But it is also true that the STO engine has, well, the creation of pets and also the destruction of pets, so unsummoning or killing or whatever happens to them when they leave gameplay. Both of those operations are some of the higher cost operations that can be performed during combat. The creation of entities and the destruction of them. So there is a limit. There also is a hard cap, but it's very high. We don't usually run into it unless people are being super weird with their builds.
We
But
have
just in
run
terms of
into it
like,
though. I've seen that happen.
we have run into it, yes. But also we not too many years ago we also increased the cap a little bit to try and fix that or allow for more. But it is a performance issue. The more pets that you're summoning and are dying on a regular basis, the worse your performance will be. And it's again one of those kind of death by 1,000 paper cuts things. So limiting the number of pets you have in that regard is a good choice for us. But there's also just a design decision. Like, how many pets do you feel like you can actually pay attention to before it's not you playing the game? It's just a swarm of cookie clickers, And we want you to be playing the game, not just sitting there and watching AI do it for you. So,
I mean, there are
yeah,
people who probably want that, where they just get the ships and they don't have to actually play the game at all. But
sure. And I mean, that's a valid choice for them and the kind of gameplay and the kind of games that they want to play. But
yeah,
I'm the lead designer. I don't want STO to be that game. I'm sorry.
yeah. I think that's the right call. I was just making a joke about everything.
Yeah. Yep.
uh, let's see. Okay, Tubby Candy Hoarder wants to know.
Still a great name.
It's a great name. The exchange as
Mhm.
currently the Dilithium exchange is currently in its usual cycle of
Everybody hating it.
you guys do a ton of work to get it down, and then that lasts a couple of months, and then it hideously breaks again and becomes
Right.
what it is once again now. The last couple of times we talked about this, back in the day, the struggle was always finding the right kind of dilithium sink to solve the problem.
Mhm.
How much effort and how much progress do you think has been made on that front in the last couple of years?
Well, not much that's player facing in terms of progress, although we did do one minor thing that I was hoping would have a bigger impact than it did, which was to change the dilithium contribution constant in fleets from 1 to 1 to be 3 to 1. So you get 3 fleet credits per dilithium. We were hoping that would have a bigger impact on motivation to contribute to your fleets. It didn't raise the needle. It didn't make anything worse, thankfully, but it didn't really have any impact. We were hoping it might have something, and it just
Yeah.
didn't. The bigger thing that we've been paying attention to recently is, like, for a long time, there's this old saying that I'm sure you've heard in game dev of don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yep.
And I think for a long time that was a factor in how we were thinking about the dilithium economy. We were holding out to find some sort of silver bullet or really great choice that would have a huge instant and ongoing impact on the dilithium market. And honestly, oh, I think my camera died.
Oh, I can still see you.
Um,
Oh, where did you go? Oh, I know
I
what happened.
disappeared from
I
the
know what
screen.
happened. Sorry. One sec. You have returned.
Thank you. So I think that for a long time we were kind of looking for that silver bullet, and now we've started to turn a corner on. Let's just think about little things, low hanging fruits. What can we do to improve it in small ways, and just keep doing smaller updates? So that's more of where our headspace is now. And we have a few ideas that I'm hoping we'll be able to execute on, maybe even before this summer, but at least this year, to do a little bit of that, at least at the very least, just to show to our players that we're doing something and we're
Yeah.
not just sitting on it and letting it bask in its horribleness.
um, what? So I actually don't know the answer to this. One of the things that we talked about back in the day, was, that part of the problem with all that is the amount of dilithium the game, gives you for playing content.
Yeah,
It makes it really
yeah.
hard to balance that. Um,
Mhm.
has lowering that been considered, or is it like a business case that it would be disastrous to lower that?
There's risk. I don't know that I'd go so far as saying disastrous, but it is a conversation that I've been having with my team and with Thomas recently. Events being the key dilithium contributor right now. The
Yeah.
amount of dilithium that you can get through our appointment events is pretty generous. And if we look at our economic reports and everything, you'll see that it's our number one earner for players across the board. So yeah, there's a chance that we might look at lowering that, but even if we do, we're going to do our best to make it still feel like we're replacing it with something that is of approximately equivalent value. Not every player will feel like it's the same value, but at least it's enough to make it clear that we're not just trying to like nerf you or ruin your spending potential or anything like that. We just need different numerics to be entering the economy or different items or something like that. So I would say that's another thing that we are thinking of changing, and I would expect that if we decide to do that, you'll hear about it before this summer, and we'll also make a big stink about warning people up front that it's happening. It won't just be sprung on everybody.
That sounds good. Just to lean into the cookie clicker thing,
Hmm.
Dijon Cyanide has given you a suggestion for a dilithium sync of allowing players to auto replay the missions that they've completed and just click and get the rewards. I assume that goes against the non cookie clicker philosophy a little bit.
It does, but also at the same time, we did talk at one time about doing a mission reward replay reclaim store so that once you have mission completion registered to your character, maybe there's a store you can just go and buy the rewards from for some amount of dilithium.
Yeah.
Um, the the tough part of something like that is that we don't really have the resources right now to increase the overall maintenance footprint of the game in significant
Mm.
ways. So something like that becomes a system that you have to periodically pay attention to and update every time we do a new mission. In this case, we would have to then go update the store, and that's fine sometimes, but it is something we have to keep in mind. Just the overall maintenance cost of every update that we do. It has gotten bigger over the years. It's one of the reasons that our update cadence has slowed down in some ways. There's also like personnel reasons and all of
Yeah.
that, but the maintenance is a big factor in that. And so we need to be careful with the game this age that we don't continue to increase the maintenance for every single update, um, or at least do so in ways that maybe are more manageable.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
yeah.
unfortunate the engine doesn't really have a way to auto update things like that, because that would make everybody's life a lot
Unless we
easier.
figure it out, it's our engine.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't promise anything, but technically, I think I've told you this when you used to work here. Technically, we can do whatever we want with this game. It's just a matter of time and money
Yep.
of whether or not we can execute it. And in a factor in that time and money conversation is also what are we not doing if we're
Hmm.
doing this?
That's
Um,
the bridge thing. It's we could make a
yeah,
billion bridges, but then we wouldn't be making environments for the episodes.
right.
And that
Yeah,
can't do that.
right.
Let's see. Let's see. I'm just seeing for questions. There's a lot of requests in here. I assume you're reading the
Mhm.
chat and can look at those. I'm not going to ask them
No, you told
live
me
on
not
stream.
to.
Folks, I'm not going to ask for give personal suggestions or ask for personal things, just because, I mean, either Jeremy is going to say we can't talk about that, or Jeremy is going to give a very nice long-winded answer about why it's a good or bad idea. But either way, it's not that exciting. But I now Jeremy is aware that there are a ton of Dill Sync suggestions in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
There, there always are.
There always are. I still think mine was brilliant, but you know. Um, Pundus has a very important question. Do you know about the band the Proto-Men?
Only through you.
Okay.
And I've actually, I think the only snippets of their music that I've heard is also on your stream. So I'm afraid I'm a Proto-Man noob.
Yeah,
good question though. Great question. I'm
Great
glad
question.
we spend stream time on those sorts of things.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hey, it's not an official stream anymore. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I can't believe somebody is yelling at Suna for swearing on stream. She had so much more oversight than I did. All right.
I think it's less about yelling at her and more about teasing her about it.
Okay.
She tries not to.
Let's see. Oh, Hunter's been listening.
The first time it happened, I'm pretty sure that the swearing that she said was just calling something kick ass or something like that. And then it kind of just became a meme from there. Wow.
I said don't do personal requests, and so instead we just got all the weird questions.
Well, we might as well hit a few while we get some real questions in.
Yeah. Then. Fragrance wants to know if you got the bot left nipple tassels he sent.
No, thankfully.
Another one from Tubby Candy Hoarder. I'm sorry, Canday Hoarder. Okay, this question. I'm going to rephrase this question, Tubby, because you phrased it in a way that I'm sure you meant, but is a little bit more combative. There's issues with the Type 7 shuttles, and those issues are making people not be excited about ships without hangar bays. So what's the plan?
So Type 7s are one of the entries on an internal document that we're working up to make player facing, called our watch list. Any of you that might have been familiar with Magic the Gathering in the past, this is where we've taken our inspiration from. The general gist of it is that anytime Magic would come out with a new set, they tended to also accompany the set announcement with some sort of watch list. I don't think they do this anymore, but they used to do it a lot, where they'd say like these cards are very powerful, and we will be keeping an eye on them to see if they're meta warping in a way that we don't like. So we as STO designers have started putting together an internal watch list. The Type 7s are on that watch list. And this is going to be our go-to document for figuring out when we have free time to do tuning passes on things. We're going to start with the watch list. And this is also a way to keep us honest in terms of like if a newer feature ends up on the watch list right after it's released, we need to be doing a better job of addressing those soon. Like this kind of spun out of the Hexacannons nerf that came out like I guess it's about a month ago at this rate. But those were an overperforming item that had been live for over a year. I think it was close to 18 months before we finally took a look at them and gave them a little bit of nerfing love. They're still overperforming, but we at least hammered them down a little bit. They needed the love, let's be honest. And I think anybody that disagrees is in a different world, but because they're still top performers even after the nerf.
Yeah.
And they're still on the watch list. Spoilers. So anyway, Type 7s are on our watch list. We're planning to get that document into players' hands, find a good place so that it can be referenced in some form, probably on the Arc Games website or something like that, so that it can be kind of a living document that we add to and remove from as we make tuning changes, so that you guys as players can be a little bit more aware of the things that we consider to be problematic. One of the things that's holding us up right now, though, to be honest, is we want to give some equal space on the watch list to noteworthy underperformers. And let's be honest, there are 1,000 million things in STO that can be considered underperformers at this point. But if there's something that is a special premium thing or a special chase reward, like if the tier 6 reputation rewards of 1 rep are so much garbage compared to all the other reps, I want to know about that, right? Because that deserves a place on the watch list. So that's something that I think we want to try to add to the list before we go out and publish it, because I don't want it to only be focusing on nerfs. I don't want it to be seen as the impending nerf doc.
The dev
And
ruining our
so,
fun document.
yeah, right. Legendary Negvar trait. Great. I've noted it. I don't remember what that is. Feedback pulse.
Yeah.
Really?
Maybe create a thread on the Discord called the garbage thread and let people tell you what's garbage. What should
But
be
it's important that it's not
always
just like,
garbage.
it's not just things that you think are underperformers or that are your pet or that would be great in your build if it did more damage or whatever the case is. I want cases to be made for direct comparisons. Like I said, like if one reputation's rewards are terrible or bad compared to all the other reputations, that stands out, and it's a dip in the floor that needs to be raised. So that's the sort of conversations that I'm looking to have with players to bring things onto our radar and figure out which underperformers are most justified to be worked on, because we just don't have the man hours to do everything.
Yeah.
So we need to pick our battles.
All right, so I've got a follow-up question about the hexacannons, and
Mhm.
I'm sorry in advance. So a lot of players, when that happened, did the usual tune of, well, I paid money for this because it
Mhm.
was so good. You took my money and then you made it bad.
Mhm.
From a game design perspective, what's your philosophy on that kind of thing?
That very conversation is one of the reasons why we didn't take a heavier nerf hammer to it, to be perfectly honest. Um, I was very adamant that we wanted to maintain its position as the top, if not one of the top performers within its category of experimental weapons, because that could have been the motivation for which people paid money for it. But on a general basis, like, that philosophy is at odds with, we have to make the game sustainable over the long term.
Yeah.
And while power creep is something that will naturally happen in our game, especially when we're selling new ships and we want to entice people to try them out, there's only so far that novelty can take you. Sometimes you have to bake in some power just to get people to be motivated to keep the lights on and keep buying ships and all that kind of stuff. So there's but it is my intention. I think I've said this on record before, that anything that we create in systems, I want to, as close as we can, make those like B grade in terms of like a tier chart. Like S, A, B, C, D,
Yeah.
F. I want to aim for about B tier um, performance in all of those, because that means if we miss one way or the other, then C tier is still okay for a lot of players, and we would have room to bump it up. If we miss going high, we're not likely to end up in the best in slot S tier. We're likely to end up more in the A tier, which is good and it's fine, right?
Yeah.
So as a general philosophy, that's where we try to end up when we're making things out of the gate. But internal testing and play testing of these things is usually without all of the variables of like a fully geared character with
Yeah.
600 endeavor ranks and all that kind of stuff. So we don't always have time to make a full picture of exactly how an individual thing will perform with this build versus that build. And so we just try to baseline it and usually compare apples to apples as close as possible. So with something like creating a new experimental weapon, we'll usually like pick 2 or 3 existing experimental weapons that have about the same firing cycle and target cap and all that kind of stuff, and kind of compare them against one another when we're making it. So the areas where it's more risky or dangerous or difficult is where we're creating something that is completely new, that doesn't have anything that already exists that is comparable. So we can't really do apples to apples internal like testing before we roll it out. So then we just have to trust our gut and our knowledge of the game to get us as close as possible.
So you said you can't do apples to apples. Can you do Cards Against Humanity?
That's just like the adult version of apples
Apples
to
to
apples,
apples,
right?
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. They're the same game. I wanted to quickly mention. Oh, we're on an ad. Okay. We're gonna go boop 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 boop. Wait for this ad to end. Does it tell me anywhere how long it is?
I don't know. I'm subscribed to this channel, so I don't have ads.
Oh, you're a good friend. Okay, I'm opening
It's true.
chat. Yeah, you are. But yeah, if well, I was just gonna say subscribe so you don't see ads, but the people who aren't subscribed are seeing ads. I was gonna quickly respond to one of the things that was I know people were gonna ask, because I remember the response to we aren't able to test with fully kitted out builds and all this crazy stuff, is usually, well, why don't you, I'll say a player. What people usually say is, well, why don't you bring me in to test stuff? And just want to talk about, we have tried stuff like that before in the past at Cryptic, or not we. Damn it. They have tried stuff like that before in the past at Cryptic. I tried something like that. And the problem always seems to be a matter of expectation. Players can and will swear up and down that they'll be good. They won't, abuse their sudden direct connection to the developers. But it becomes something very parasocial, and they start to really expect stuff, and it becomes a bad situation for
Well, not only
developers.
that, but like many years ago, we had a player council that was ran. I think it was Brandflakes at the time was our CM.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to put blame on him. I'm just noting the timeline. And we had like it was kind of centralized on the forums, and unfortunately, we had some bad players not bad players, bad actors. That's the term I was looking for within that group.
We had some people who
took
suck at the game in the group, so
they took their perceived authority and started kind of making it their identity within the community as at large. And like, hey, I have a direct line to the devs, so therefore that means you should listen to my opinions on things. And it was a real bad situation. We weren't able to get it back under control, so it basically just floundered and left.
Just killed the program.
The other problem that we have with the idea of a player council, or like previewing things with certain content creators or high performers, or whatever we identify for that, and I'm not saying this is something that we've actually been talking about, should we try something like that? So maybe. But one of the big challenges that we're talking about internally is like, things don't get into the hands of players until they're done.
Yeah.
And that's just a matter of like branch control, right? The data just doesn't exist.
You'd have to give people access to like a test
to internal builds or pre-release builds or something like that.
Yeah.
And we used to have Tribble was able to do some of this, but even with the level of scrutiny and process that goes into getting a pre-release build onto Tribble is essentially the same amount of work internally as a full build goes to live. Like in terms of the number of people that have to review it, do white gloves, the process of getting it through our data center and patched up and all of that. Like getting a patch to Tribble it's not trivial, and it's not an internal server that we control ourselves. It's still in our data center, so a lot of people have to be involved in that process, and it makes it kind of a difficult thing to manage. Maybe we can find an excuse for it to be worth it, and then get like targeted people onto a limited access server for I don't know. It comes back to the old question, right? We can do whatever we want, but do we have the time and money to spend on that and not something else? So if that player council becomes something that Suna or somebody at ARC or whoever takes on the mantle of being the champion for that process, do they have time in their day to actually be able to do that? Or should they be taking feedback? Should they be filing bug reports? Or should they be doing whatever else instead with their time? Yeah. It's a constant struggle.
I remember when we would do, people were asking about, Tribble and what you were saying about it being, just as much work and having a lot of people to go through. When we would do those fun Tribble stress tests, like there were so many people involved in the email chains about it and having to approve the timing and when it would go and stuff like that. It was a
lot of those fun stress tests were actually for the sake of like performance gathering. So there would be not only Mike hosting the event on the Tribble server, but also like a whole team of people in the server room going like, "Ooh, now what happens?" and poking at it while it goes down.
Is it on fire?
Yeah.
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 All right. Several people have offered their services, but my favorite is Fragrance, who wants to know if Cryptic needs a new executive janitor, because everyone is remote. Fragrance, I think that would mean flying to everyone's house individually, which I'm sure you're willing to do. Let's see.
I will not pay for airfare, but come on over. I could use this maid.
A couple of folks, specifically Augie in this case, are saying, and this is just me, telling about the things I know. Y'all could just watch the vids, and content creators will point out broke stuff pretty fast. They do. They do,
do.
And when something is broke, at least when I was there, and I doubt anything has changed, the knowledge of that it's broke is spread real fast. If it
Mhm.
wasn't me immediately jumping on it, seeing you guys' videos and reports, there's always system designers, including Mr. Jeremy Randall himself, who are just active in the community, if quietly,
Mhm.
for obvious reasons, so that they can keep an eye on stuff like that and know when something's broken and how what's the word, serious of a it's broken it
Mhm.
is.
Yeah. Severity and
Severity,
criticality.
there we go.
Yeah. Those have
uh
a big part in determining how quickly we can turn around. So just as some examples, like the recent season 8 season 35 corruption came out on the 10th, right? Or
yeah.
wait, let me check my calendar. Yeah, 2 weeks ago today. And you're going to still see launch bugs in this week's patch that comes out on the 26th. And that's just the quickest that we could manage to turn these around. Not just like managing to, coordinate and some things require multiple disciplines, so coordinating across teams to get some of those things fixed, but also coordinating with our server, our live ops team and our data center and our QA team to just have the bandwidth to check our fixes, because we still want to make sure that if I check in a fix, it still has to go through QA. They have to verify that it actually fixed the issue that I said it's fixing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to have good documentation, good Jira's structure internally with good repro steps, so they can say, here's the old problem. Did Jeremy's fix it? And somebody has to go through and check every single check-in that every single developer makes, and that
Yep.
takes time. It's a process.
And
So
often
so
they'll
yeah,
find
even
issues that the developer didn't see, and then the developer has to go back and rework the fix to fix those
yep.
issues, and
hmm
it's a whole thing.
Honestly, some of the issues that we had with our release and that we've had with recent live issues stem from that same process. Is either not having a good Jira with good repro steps for QA to follow with the check-in that we made, and I'm actually guilty of this. Sometimes I'll go into the Discord and find a bug report and just fix it and not bother with a Jira. That's not good practice.
No,
Don't be
that's
like
bad.
me.
Don't do that. Bad Jeremy.
Um,
Bad. Squirt,
but it
squirt.
means that now when that check-in gets to QA, they don't know what I'm fixing. They don't have any documentation on how to reproduce the bug that I was saying that I was fixing. All they have is like a link to Discord if they're lucky of the player bug report. So that those can hang up the process, and it can be a reason that certain check-ins don't go live with a certain build or get pushed to a later patch or just get returned and don't go into the patch at all.
Yeah.
So we're still in the process. You have to remember that as of about 2 years ago, almost the entire team turned over. There's only like 5 of us left from the old days. So every single discipline, including 100% of QA and production, are still learning. They're at best been here for 2 years, many of them less than that. And so there's a lot of knowledge that still has to be built up over time. We just have to get used to doing our jobs to the point where we can be, hopefully one day, as skilled as the old Cryptic folks that we lost.
Wait, the whole team turned over? I didn't know that.
Uh, yes, you did.
All right. Prima Morgana, I don't think Jeremy can answer that question. The question was when if Cryptic will be hiring more people and when. That's more of a Jack or a Thomas question. So we'll just move
Well,
on from that. Oh, you want to say
I can give
something?
you a half-ass. I can give you a half-ass answer.
Sure, give me a half-ass answer.
So and this is on a more general subject, like a lot of times when we talk about bugs that are present in the game, the solution that a lot of players have is just hire more people, right?
Yeah.
Because it's true, that might help. But I want to make it clear that Cryptic doesn't operate on huge revenue profits.
Yeah.
We're not walking around in gold-plated pants, as I said to somebody a couple weeks ago. And so we have to measure against the revenue that the game actually brings in whenever we talk about potentially hiring people. And right now, at least the last time we did a thorough investigation into this, it didn't look like we could hire anybody. There's also the fact that we just got bought by Arc, and so they're probably going to want to keep their books a little bit stable for a few months before they go and add more expenses on top of it.
Yep.
Now that they've acquired an entire company, game studio, and are operating on their own. So with all the moving pieces in place, I think that you're unlikely to see us do any major hiring and even like spot hiring is likely to be few and far between. I would recommend if anybody is really interested and has some professional experience in game dev, keep a bookmark for the Arc Games careers page. That's likely where they would be posted. I think we actually took down the Cryptic Studios career page recently
Okay.
because it was out of date. So
Yeah.
now that we're under Arc, they are also our HR department, so they'll be leading up any hiring that we start on, if we start on.
How could you get rid of that page just because it was out of date? Don't you know I wrote that copy?
I think as of like 6 months ago, it still had a listing for some position. I forget what it was,
Oh.
and we were not hiring.
Prima Morgana, I'm gonna answer this question. If you're looking for digital analytics or marketing stuff, look at Arc Games, not Cryptic. I mean, look at their website for either thing, but that stuff is going to go through the publisher. Can I say it? I wonder if I can say it. I don't know.
You don't work for
I don't
them.
work there.
Neither do I, but you know.
Are people there still powerful? I don't know.
I don't even know if there's a bridge to burn, but
Yeah.
I hesitate to do so.
Yeah. All right. Looking for other questions. I remember one from earlier. Trexpert wanted to know if Xbox and PlayStation servers are also in our server farm, or if they're run out of a Sony thing, or Sony and Microsoft thing.
I don't really know. I'm pretty sure they're all in the same data center though, because we do patches for all of the servers, all the different platforms, like on the same tickets structure. So I think they're all in the same data center. It's probably just licensed to operate Xbox/Sony. It's not ours, by the way, in case people don't know. Like the data server is not a Cryptic asset or an Arc asset. It's a independent contractor that we've worked with for years and years and years. But they're not part of our internal infrastructure. And that's common for a lot of places.
I did not know that. I never knew that. That's fascinating. I always thought it was like a Arc facility in Boston. Is your cat all right? Are they dying?
So this happens anytime I've gone the whole day without talking or a long period of time without talking, and then I start making noises. They think it's time to make noise. So that's fine. They just want to be part of the conversation.
My brother's dad, not my brother's dad, my brother's dog is the same way. They've been doing video chats with my daughter, and I guess the voice they use with my daughter is very similar to the one they use with their dog. And so poor Cedar has been like, who are you talking to? And why isn't it me?
Yeah, there's a request to see the cat. Here she is.
Oh, hello, buddy. Oh, look at the kitty. I love your face.
Her name is Ellipsis.
Let's see. Oren Light wants to know about lifetime subscription. Obviously, it's one of those things that gets asked about a lot because some of it has gotten updated in the last couple of years. A lot of it has not. What are your thoughts? I'm just gonna say, what are your thoughts on the lifetime subscription, and what would be a good plan moving forward?
Lifetime subscription, in my opinion, falls under the heading of a lot of neglected systems in the game. We haven't updated reputations for a long time. We haven't updated the fleet system for a long time. We haven't updated Admiralty, the doffing system, R&D. Like, there's so many things. And personally, I consider lifetimes to be kind of in that same headspace. Like a feature that we have interest in updating, but we always just have to, what are we going to update? What do we have the time for?
Yeah.
And what gives us a good payoff and all that kind of stuff. That being said, I have heard some rumblings internally that the type of person that pays for a lifetime subscription probably expects some sort of periodic updates over time, more so than how they play the game and the systems that they engage with in the game. So that's about as far as I could say right now. Okay. I guess just to say that there have been some discussions internally about it. That doesn't mean that we will necessarily have the time or the energy or the resources to update it, but there's been some renewed interest internally and at least looking at it.
So confirmed on the stream today, the captain's table will be updated to give anyone who enters it 5,000 Zen at every time. You can repeat it by entering and leaving. I'm so sorry. Trexpert wanted to know, what are your thoughts on? I'm again rephrasing, but what are your thoughts on the state of console right now, especially in terms of like UI and like gameplay and stuff like that? And is there anything
Mhm.
you would improve or have plans to improve?
So the biggest thing that I want to improve on console is having a better way for us internally as developers to pay attention to, acknowledge, and support the auto execute functionality that is present for console players. Because let's face it, the moment to moment UI is not great. The
Yeah.
game was designed for PC with a bunch of hotbars, old school MMO style. That doesn't translate to a controller very well, if at all. So the solutions that we had with radial menus and things like that, it never really stuck out as something that felt good to play, and that's why the console team decided to implement and create this auto execute system. But I think it was also mentioned on one of our live streams recently that the console team that worked on creating the new UI and any functionality that was created for that they were not part of the STO dib team. They were the STO console team, and they were internal to Cryptic. It wasn't an external vendor or anything, but they weren't part of the development team. And so there wasn't a lot of documentation. They didn't have a lot of interaction with us. So it's actually true that when they were making the auto execute system, those of us on the core team barely knew anything about it. And documentation for it, even to this day, is lacking, to put it kindly. Um, and so we're working on some internal measures. Mayo, who's here earlier, I don't know if he's still around, is also kind of in all of his copious free time
Huh.
helping us kind of spearhead some process improvements that can help us pay attention to this and also address some past items that went through without and went live without auto execute conditions and things like that. So in terms of console overall, that's my focus as a designer of one aspect of the game that I want to improve. I also just think that the general usability and responsiveness of that system could use a review to see if it's actually could be made better. And by extension of that, if we can make it better, is it good enough that we should continue porting it, consider porting it back to PC? I want to continue looking into all of that. There are other aspects to console that I think are kind of redheaded stepchild sort of stuff that we do our best, but we don't have the resources to support two entirely different games. So really our design principle has always been that the same data and the same usability, the same logic, the same everything goes to console. And the only thing that is different is UI interactions with it. And that has remained true, and that remains to be our focus, even to the point where when we encounter things that don't work on console, like the dance party or that mission you just played, I think last week on your stream, that
Yeah.
used to require you to move your bridge officers around, we just change it on both console and PC,
So that it's
um,
not separate.
so that it's not separate, so that we don't have to worry about separate maintenance of two different types of gameplay, because we can't support that.
So I this is a question that I have. This is not coming from chat. Just based on my experience with the team and the game, and some of the stuff we've talked about from fan requests today. Um, a lot of the struggle with STO seems to have always come from there's all these things we think we should do or we think we want to do,
Hmm.
but we're also laying train track in front of us and running from the train behind us of
Yeah.
getting new content releases out on a regular basis so that and new ships and everything so the game continues to make money so everybody continues to get paid. um
Hmm.
do you think there's a solution to that problem? And if you were given let's say truly unlimited power, what do you think your approach would be to try and get away from that train track?
Hmm. I don't think that I need unlimited power. I think that we're already on the way towards making some process improvements that can help improve things. The biggest thing that I think that this team right now, so my design team, that can do for themselves is something I tell them all the time, which is be kind to yourself. And what that means is like when you're tasked with making a new episode or a new reward or a new ship or whatever the case might be, there is a natural tendency for people that are game designers to kind of go crazy and want to like reinvent the wheel and step outside the bounds and push the envelope and do something that is not just novel but new and crazy maybe even. And I understand that tendency. It is ingrained in me as well. I am a designer as well. But one of the biggest things we can do for ourselves in terms of process and being able to support the game long term and do interesting things that aren't just working on the treadmill of release after release after release is intelligently scoping the features that we choose to put into the game. And that means that not every console has to have an active and a passive with a trigger that turns on and does this thing and turns off and does this different thing. Those designs can be fun and interesting to play with, but you could probably just get away with making another great big gun and players would be just as happy, you know? Um, so that's what I kind of mean about being kind to yourself as designers. Pay attention to the amount of time that you're investing into one thing, because if you can do something that is still fun, desirable, and interesting for your player base that doesn't take you 3 weeks, but maybe only takes you 3 days, do it. Right? Because then you
Yeah.
can spend the rest of that time actually like making the game better or fixing old bugs or inventing whole new systems, or whatever the case might be, because you can really create that space for yourself. And the same is true for, like, I have a very systems design focus on this, but the same is true for content as well. And to be perfectly honest, the recent episode that you guys just played, Curse of Phrygia, if you just look at that and try to compare it from a technical standpoint versus Axiom or Best Laid Plans, Curse of Phrygia is so much more simple. And yet, the gameplay experience of going through that story is probably going to stand out in people's minds for years to come as just as important as those other episodes, just as impactful, just as you know, uh, just as much of an emotional response and everything. Even though it took us far fewer resources than we would have previously spent on an episode to deliver on this episode, because we were smarter and we were kinder to ourselves about what we were trying to pull off.
I follow-up question on that about
Mhm.
the TFO actually. One thing I love
Mhm.
about the TFO is how new and different it is. And I
Mhm.
know we've been burned before in the past sometimes by making TFOs that aren't just, pew 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 shooty shooty. Um,
Mhm.
how do you think the response has been, and do you think your guys are going to do? I really liked it, to be clear. How do you think the response has been, and do you guys think you're going to do more experimentation on this kind of thing
Yeah,
in the future?
to be perfectly honest, the response was more positive than we expected.
Yay!
When we went into this feeling like we were going to break some molds and try out something that not every player was going to like, we anticipated that. Myself and the primary stakeholder of that content, Andres, we had multiple conversations about this. Like, look, dude, when this goes live, not everybody's going to love it. You need to be prepared for that. And so the the positive feedback that we've gotten from it has, at least from what I've seen, really outweighed the negative. But the negative that we have received is also like, yeah, that makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's how people play STO, and that's what they. Um, there's an old saying. I think it was a previous content designer, Scott Scheikoff, from way back in the day,
Wow.
who talked about a tunnel of fun. It might have also been Craig Zinkovich. I think in one of our old EPs might have used the term as well. And it
Wasn't
was
that a
essentially the
Neverwinter
concept
design
that all you
philosophy?
need. It was. So
Yeah.
it's been permeated across Cryptic in different permutations. But the core philosophy is that all you need to give players is a long hallway with a bunch of things to fight. And that's your tunnel of fun. And if you get crazy or inventive outside of that, that's with your own risks and rewards that come along with that. But the base of the minimum viable product is just a tunnel of fun. And the vast majority of your players will be happy with that, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, to the other half of your question of how likely are we to do this again? Likely, but not with every update. What I'd like to, I think, have the content team keep in mind is not only do we want to vary gameplay between ground and space, so we try to flop back and forth between the two, because a lot of our players have their preferred region, and it's usually space, so we can't neglect it.
But they don't have
Um,
swords in space, so you got to play
yet,
ground sometimes. Yeah, please give me a space sword. Do you know how excited
um,
I got when Warframe busted out space swords?
but the other side of that is also that we want to balance it between reinventing or trying new gameplay that is not unlike anything you've tried before, against the same old thing that you know how to do. You know how to blow up critters, you know how to go and interact with things, you know how to wait for timers, defend points, whatever. So you're likely to see a lot of both. And the times where we break the mold aren't going to be back to back. We don't want players fatigued with having to reinvent or relearn the game with every major update.
Cool. All right, let me look for a fan question. T6 Megazord with the sword confirmed just for Mike. That would be great. Yeah, the Klingon cleave ship is a sword in space. That's very true.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
see.
The glorious charge. It's console ability.
And yet they used the name The Charge for a different ship, and I such a missed opportunity. All right, I'm looking for more. Let's see. Uh,
While you look, let me riff a little bit more on Belly of the Beast,
okay,
the new TFO.
sweet.
Honestly, the biggest problem that this departure in gameplay has been causing us internally, and some players have experienced this, is that our typical AFK penalty system doesn't know how to deal with it, right?
Oh yeah.
And we're learning this the hard way. We didn't anticipate this because we didn't have any entrenched knowledge on the team that knew about the AFK penalties. All that knowledge, unfortunately, left the team, so we had to do some relearning. So things like minimum amounts of interacts, we had a threshold set for in order to not be AFK, you had to interact with 2 things successfully. But the only things you can interact with successfully are the consoles. Under the hood, the way that it was set up is those call for help clicks that you can do were actually interact failures.
Oh.
So they didn't count towards successes. So there were only like 8 interacts that you could do. And if you had to get 2, that means even if you do 2, that means one of the players was going to get AFK'd every time.
Oh my
right?
god.
Unless they were interacting with traps, which were the only other interacts on the map that you could be successful with. So we had to
Do the
disable
tutorial councils count?
No.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, it was literally just the consoles and the traps were the only thing that could trigger you to not be AFK. But there was also, we're still investigating this, so I'm not sure if it's a factor, but you know how much damage you take when the Apex kills you?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Oh
'cause you
no, I
never
don't.
die to
How
it.
much? Oh yeah, never, not once.
It's like 140 billion or something damage. It's just a ridiculously large number that fills the whole screen. There could be, we're still investigating, but there might be a scoreboard mechanic under the hood that's saying you will go FK if you don't take a certain proportion of the damage that has been taken by all players on the map.
Oh.
And so if the Apex is killing one person over and over, and then that person is taking 99.99999% of the damage that has been dealt on the map. If that's true, we're still investigating, but that could be another problem that is causing some false positive AFKs.
I think that is true because I remember Keith in a meeting. We had a couple of meetings where Keith would make tweaks to the AFK system to try and fix some problem that we had at that time with a different TFO. I don't remember what.
So the lesson for everybody watching this right now is that if you die a lot to the Apex, you might be giving somebody else an AFK penalty. So stop it.
I refuse on principle. Let's see. What there? Oh man, I had a question that I liked, and then hold on. I got it here. I promise. Maybe. Okay. The stupid chat keeps popping down when one of you guys posts, so I can't find the question I was looking for.
Stop talking.
No, continue engaging so more people come to the stream. A question that came up a couple of times from different people in chat. What are the thoughts and plans for folks who are at or near the Endeavor cap?
Congratulations. I think right now, in terms of the Endeavors and how we in design are paying attention to it, is more of the problem of returning players or new players who see this massive. Oh, we just got hit with an ad. I'll hold off on the rest of that answer.
Oh, okay.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. You seen any good movies lately?
I just watched Rental Family actually the other day.
Oh, how is that? I haven't seen it yet.
I loved it. It's not exactly maybe what a Star Trek fan would typically. It's way weirder, but it's really good. Brendan Fraser is coming back with a bang. I love it.
It's great.
I'm really excited to see that he and
Rachel Weisz
have signed up for the Mummy.
If
that actually happens, I'm really hoping it does. But
me too.
I know it's one of your favorites, right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my on my list of perfect movies. I actually didn't even dislike Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, which everyone hated on. Uh,
I've never even
but
heard of that.
that's the third one with Jet Li and a different person playing Rachel Weisz's character.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. Let us know when we're back from the ads, y'all. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, Rental Family looks really good. I wish Batgirl had come out. Would have loved to see him play a villain in that.
Yeah.
Rage, 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 rage. Uh,
Wasn't that one that like the movie was done and they just
they just
canned
canned
it?
it. Yep, the movie was basically
Like even
done.
post-production, editing, everything?
Yep.
Like
I don't
such a
actually. I
weird
don't think.
decision.
I actually don't think post production was done. That was done
Oh,
for Coyote versus Acme, which is the other big one that they
yeah.
canned. But they had shot the whole movie, and
Mhm.
then they were like, let's do a tax write off instead." Like, such a weird thing.
Your
Uh,
job as a movie studio shouldn't be to do tax breaks. It should be to release movies.
right? Uh,
Yeah.
all right. Let's see.
We're probably back from ads now.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I was talking about endeavors, and the thing that we're paying more attention to with that is the like returning player or new player problem, where they see this monumentous goal, which again, to repeat earlier statements, like we never intended for endeavors to feel like they were a goal. They were more supposed to just be infinite micro progression that you could just do forever and not have to worry about it. The rewards weren't supposed to be a focus. The goal was not supposed to be a goal, an end point. But
I,
whatever, it's in the hands of players. They treat it differently than what we intended, and that's fine. It's your system now. Um, so the bigger system is or issue for a systems designer now is trying to figure out if there's a way that we can make it not feel so um, horrendous. Because the reports from players, and they're probably hyperbolic to some degree, but is like I saw that when I logged in, realized it would take me 6 years to max it out, and logged out and haven't ever returned.
yeah. I honestly I think I'm the only person who engaged with that system the way you intended because I had no idea that it was that it would take that long to do. But at the same
Mhm.
time, it's STO players. If you give them a mountain to climb, they will want to climb it. So
Mhm.
that makes a lot of sense. That
It's
that's
MMO
happening.
players in general. If you can
Yeah,
give them a number that goes up, they want to get it as high as possible.
yeah,
And if they know that there's a cap, then they want to get that cap as quickly as possible.
yeah,
So the original question was like, what are we going to do about people at the cap?
yeah,
Probably nothing. And considering the feedback that we got last time we increased the cap, I don't think we're terribly likely to do so in the future. So the Endeavor system current cap might be as high as you ever see it go, maybe,
yeah,
because the feedback was so negative. So we're more likely to try and figure out ways that people low on the scale maybe have some sort of catch up mechanic or something. I don't know what shape that's going to take, but that's the attention that I'm giving to that system.
cool. This question I'm gonna rephrase a little bit. This is from Geekster81. If folks came in late and missed this earlier, Jeremy was talking about a watch list they have where things that might need to be tuned up or down are on the list, and uh, they plan to eventually release that for public consumption. Um, Someone was asking about the uncon meta. I will just rephrase that question to say, are uncons on the list?
Kind of,
Kind
right?
of.
Because it's not it. The existence of a build type that can utilize universal consoles as its primary source of interesting stuff to do is actually a really fun gameplay space, I think, for STO to have. The problem is that right now the only ways to do it are like unconventional systems and the Voven console. And so, if anything, I think that in the future you're likely to see ways in which we as systems designers want to explore that space and offer alternatives or synergies to tack on to it to expand the play space rather than saying that if you want to do this, you must get these two things.
Yeah.
Because I think that the gameplay style is, like I said, it's interesting to have. It's a little problematic in that a lot of those consoles have really flashy visual effects and kind of spam the world. And that's something I'm aware of with future consoles. I think we're going to see a lot more subtle visuals on a whole, not every time, but on a whole. Um,
Smash
so
Cut 2.
yeah,
And this console does a black hole that takes up the entire screen.
it's going to happen on occasion. Sometimes
Yeah.
we can't get away with it. Like the Harmonies console summons that great big golden portal in space.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? That's what Ethereans do.
Yeah.
We can't make that less you know, less visually unique. Yeah.
Were there ever any we talked about it a lot back in the day. Is there any, speaking of high visuals, any thoughts or progress on, ways for people to be able to control what level of visuals they see in space combat?
Yeah. Um, yes. So that's an area where it was kind of a pet project of one of our previous programmers,
Oh yeah.
and such a pet project and side project of his that when he left the company, he didn't leave much in the way of documentation or ideation or design documents or anything to on how to follow up on that. So, and I will say that, like, on a whole, I think that right now the engineers that we have, the programmers that we have on our teams, are probably the ones who are most struggling with a lack of expertise and lack of experience. Like, they can look right at the code, so eventually they can learn how things work. But they don't really have any. We lost like all of our expertise, all
Yeah.
of our engine knowledge, except a few programmers who are doing their best to try and help the new crop of them come up to speed. Like, in terms of design, they had me to lean on, and every discipline had some sort of voice of authority that was helping them come up to speed. But engineering really lacked a good mentor, so they're doing their best. But of all of the disciplines and the folks that we got from the DECA to ARC merger, they're the ones that are kind of struggling the most. Um, so we have to help them come up to speed as best we can. But I think that a lot of things like side projects are unlikely to happen in the short term. Um, so yes, there's interest, but there's no documentation and there's not a lot of expertise in that area. I would say the effects system of the Cryptic engine is one of the weirdest and oldest,
Huh.
like, sort of sub features within the engine. Like, over the years, we've released a new character editor. We've got, like, so many things in the engine have gone up to version 2, like
But not the
subsystems,
FX.
material systems, but not effects. We had an effects 2 system that was being used by Magic, but they kept changing it in such unique ways that we can't really backport anything. And our old effects from STO can't just be automatically ported into the
Yep.
FX2 engine because it was basically being made alongside Magic that was creating entirely new assets. So they didn't really think about backwards compatibility.
Yeah, that
So
makes
the
sense.
FX2 system in Cryptic is not usable by STO. It might be at some point in the future, but yeah, that's the current state of things.
Okay. I think it's very fair that the engineers, especially on STO, are feeling a little bit, just because all of the engineering on STO for so many years was done by basically two genius programmers with a deep understanding of the engine.
Hmm.
So to lose
And
that
an
is
unfortunate proclivity to not really document everything they were doing until they were
right.
done with it.
Yep,
So if they didn't get to a point where they were done with it,
it's not
well, it's
documented.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see.
And I want to make
S-
it clear, I'm not trying to badmouth the current engineers or anything. It's just that they've got a struggle. They've had probably the hardest job of anybody in this transition of adapting to this aged engine and supporting it.
yeah. Okay, the Sci-Fi 88 man, that specific thing is a bug report, so please report it on the Discord and that'll get fixed
Mhm.
there. Um, let's see. A lot of people commenting on the endeavors. Here we go. Uh, uh, has there ever been any thought? This is from the operator. Which, did you have that name before the mission, or did you pick it up after the mission? Because I really want to know.
I was
Um,
thinking the same thing earlier when I saw it.
yeah. Um, they have we ever thought of uh making there a way to obtain space equipment sets specifically that were tied to, ships that are only available in certain lockboxes and things like that, but are now
Mhm.
old to a point where, they're not, people aren't opening lockboxes to get those ships. They just want the sets.
Mhm. Right. Not really. Like, I know it's not terribly kind consumer wise, but our purpose with putting those kind of sets in old things is so that there is still some motivation to obtain them. So, because we want as much as possible, no matter how old the game gets, we want our entire, like, tier 6 ship catalog to be viable. We want players to have a reason to want to obtain a ship, even if it's from 9 years ago. It's still a tier 6 ship. hopefully in some way it still has something that somebody in the modern audience might want, whether it's the costume or the trait or the console or the ship itself. Maybe it has a great bridge officer layout for you or something. The Vengeance is still popular, for example.
Well, it's because it's named after me.
Obviously, that is not the case. That is not the truth of STO at this age, and the little bit of power creep that we do on a year-to-year basis is part of the big reason for that. But that doesn't make it any less true that it is a motivation that we have internally to try our best to keep everything from the game's entire life interesting to somebody to some extent. And I do want to remind everybody, like when we get into the conversation of like what is best or what is good or what is meta, you don't have to obtain those
Mm-hmm.
things. The game is easy, is relatively easy. Like we do want to find ways to motivate people to try to seek that out if that is their play pattern, if that is what they love doing in STO. But honestly, like you can be just fine without going out and spending thousands of dollars on the latest bundle or whatever it is that everybody on the content creation side says that you must do to be good at the game. There's so much more room to be okay at the game.
In defense of content creators, I think most of them don't actually say must do. It's just the interpretation of look
No,
how good
no,
they're doing.
I'm being a bit hyperbolic here
Yeah.
as well, but I just like to make that point when I have an opportunity in a soapbox to do so.
Sure. Happy to
Mm.
I was gonna say happy to soap your box. That sounds weird. Uh um
Well, I'm
uh
glad you didn't say that.
no, definitely that would have been weird if I said that out loud. Crazy. Crazy. Oh man, I had a follow up to what you were just saying and the terrible joke blew it out of my mind. So let's look for another question. Um let's see. What is your least favorite ship type to design?
To design
Yeah. So I know you don't do a lot of ship designing anymore, but I guess back in the day.
Raiders,
How dare you?
Raider, just because the seating is just a no-brainer. There's no choices to be made there as a designer, and I think deciding on bridge officer seats is one of the more important parts of more interesting parts of figuring out the identity of the ship and what it does. And when you have something like a raider, a frigate, or a scout ship, the seating is done. You still get to pick the primary and secondary spec, I guess, which is a little bit interesting. But and even then, I wouldn't say like I hate designing them or anything. Like they can still be interesting for their other reasons. It's just I like paying attention to seating, and so that's my pick. They're the least interesting to design, in my opinion.
It's a good pick. I'm actually curious about. Every time a new ship gets announced and somebody's like, "Oh, the seating for that is awful," or "Oh, that's great seating," I have
Mhm.
no frame of reference for why it would be one way or the other. But you obviously do because that's your job. How do you approach picking? Like, I guess, what are the things you think about when you're picking out seating for a ship, both in general and you specifically?
There's two angles, and we've been paying a little more attention to the first than the second these days, but it used to be the other way around. So the two angles, the first is like we want to have an idea of what the ship is meant to be used for. And then we go and look at popular builds that we can find on places like Stow Better or the STO builds subreddit and see how people are playing in that space, what bridge officer seats they're using, and then we factor that into our decisions in terms of like how can we serve that same play style but maybe mix it up a little bit, make a slightly different decision than what they are currently flying in whatever ship build that we found. So that's the facet of this that we didn't used to pay as much attention to, but I think we're paying a little more attention to these days. And the second angle is that we want to make sure that within whatever ship identity and generic like play space that we have chosen, that compared to a lot of other popular ships or recent release ships that are in that same play space, that we're offering variety. So what a big important part of ship design for us is the comparative analysis stage, where once we have an identity and an idea of in broad strokes what the ship is going to be, we then assemble anywhere from like 6 to 12 comparative ships from our existing catalog, and we line them up in this big spreadsheet with like all of their stats listed, and then we compare them against one another so that whatever we're designing is similar but also different. Those are our general design goals, because we want to be within that same play space. Like a cruiser needs to be identifiable as a cruiser, but we don't want it to just be a carbon copy of something that already exists. as much as we can. And so primary specs are a way that helps us do that somewhat. You know, we can repeat the same seating arrangements, but mix it up with different specs. Um, so those are some of the interesting choices I was saying that we get to make. But in other ways, it's just a matter of creating something that both meets players' expectations for whatever we call the ship, but also gives them something maybe a little bit different than what they already have
Yeah.
to increase desirability and just flavor. And, you know, we try not to, like I said before, like a little bit of power creep is natural to seek into to slip into the game, but we're not trying to raise the bar on a regular basis. Our goal as designers is generally to offer novelty, something different to play with, not necessarily something better.
And sometimes that still leads to something better.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
interesting. Okay, cool. Let me find another chat question. Um, Hunter Muhammad wants to know, is there a ship that you either worked on or fully designed yourself, that you thought was a really cool, like really interesting design, but then wasn't embraced by the player base as much as you would have liked?
Let me look this up because I think I made the compiler, but I don't remember for certain. But I love that ship. Um, I'm just going to do a quick check of our internal documentation
Sure, sure,
thing and
sure.
see if it can tell me. But that's the one that stands out to me. Like oh god, I look for compiler, got a bunch of code
Of
spreadsheets.
course.
Compiler Dreadnought, would that give me the right page? Anyway, if I made that one, that's mine. That's my favorite. Yeah, this documentation's all by me, so I'm going to assume that's me. So
Okay.
that's my answer. The compiler science Dreadnought.
And why was it? Why did you think it was going to be super
Look
popular,
at
and why wasn't it? Oh yeah, no, it's pretty. It's extremely pretty.
it. That's why I thought it was going to be popular. I thought that there was also enough like just general zeitgeist of I get to fly V'ger. That's fucking rad.
Hmm.
Um, it just ended up not being quite as embraced by players as I would have hoped. I don't really know why. I have a feeling I might have left the project shortly after this come out. I
Makes
think those
sense.
timelines line up. So I also don't know that I was around to see player responses to this as much as I would have otherwise been. Um, I'm not really sure. I've never done a deep dive into why it wasn't as popular, but I know I don't see them flown near as much as other science dreadnoughts even get flown. Um, but I love that. The look of that ship is so amazing. It was fun to fly when I was testing it. It just stands out to me as one of those that I was really proud of, and then just kind of fell on its face when it came out.
Yeah. All right. Nick NB says it's because it's a science ship and most people like their phaser cruisers. Could be. Tubby Candy Hoarder, I want to let you know I've seen your question as it goes by. I haven't answered it because we sort of already answered it. Earlier in the stream, Jeremy talked about updating things such as fleets or the dilithium sinks or other side projects, and how that's something that can be considered as processes get more efficient and as the team members who are currently on the team get more familiar with the engine. Stuff like the R&D, or reputation, fleet system,
Mhm.
were all things that he mentioned in that answer. But I will
Let me
ask
put a
this.
little
Oh,
asterisk on that though,
okay.
which is to say that with Thomas coming in as EP and with Jack coming back to the game, the general mission statements of STO have shifted a little bit. And you've heard us talk in a lot of our streams recently more about nostalgia and returning players and the existing game structure. So I can't make any promises right now, but I think that you are likely to see a little bit more attention paid to those old and neglected systems in the future, in the like next year or two at least, than we've been able to pay to them in the previous 2 to 3 years, or maybe even further back than that. Just because there's more interest in that among leadership, and we'll just find ways to make it happen. If it means we make one fewer ship a year so that we can do more updates to the lithium economy, maybe that's a sacrifice we're willing to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, but the second half of your question I was going to ask, is it possible to have a TFO that has both ground and space portions? And I think the answer is yes, because the old quote unquote raid content had that. But
Mm.
is it I guess from a design philosophy perspective, is it possible to do that, or is it something you'd do?
So no. And it actually, those old content where that did exist, those weren't queued content. And that's the key here.
Mm,
Those were what we used to call fleet actions, where they were just a thing you could fly into the zone and it would periodically reset and you could do the action and get a score and a reward, and then it would reset. And it was just a live open zone that had a linear mission that would just periodically reset as
got it.
players were playing through it. So it wasn't proper raid content. It wasn't proper queued content either. You didn't enter it through a queue system or anything. You just flew up to the door in sector space and went inside. And you could stay there for multiple cycles. You could just keep doing the mission over and over and over again. It was just an automatic, repeatable open mission. And in fact, it uses the exact same tech. If you played Champions, you know, the open
The open
missions that'll
missions,
pop
that's what
up
I
in
was
an
gonna
area.
ask. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the exact same technology, just used at a different scale. So and in those old maps, the way that you would go down to the ground portion of it was that after the space portion reached a certain point in its mission, the door would activate and you just move to a different map. It had no connection to the space map or no timing checks back to it or anything. Once the ground map was open, you just go into it and then it had the exact same thing going on. You just repeat the mission as many times as you want.
So you could log in halfway through and you would be joining the ground mission and then playing through that until it repeats back to space.
No, you would still have to go to the space map so that you
Got it.
could then fly over to the active ground entry door to
Okay.
get to the ground map.
Got it.
Um, so, but the you know the difference between that and what we have now, our queue system utilizes a single map def and a single open mission def, so we can't do multi-map TFOs at all. We've faked it with Shattered Peace,
Yeah.
our TFO from last update. You're not actually moving to different maps at all; they're just different regions. So,
I love
uh,
that.
yeah.
I love that kind of sorcery in game development. It's great.
It's the exact same sort of tech as what you see right now in the Curse of Phrygia. When you move from the upper deck to the lower deck, you're still on the same map, but you're just in the different region with different like volume properties and sky files and lighting and all that kind of stuff. But it allows us to, when we can pull that off, it means that you have one fewer loading time
Yeah,
between those maps. So,
which is always
so
great.
yeah. So, summary: multi-mission TFOs are not currently a possibility, and probably not something that we look to flex on in the future.
Yeah. Um, Chadwick McCarty says, for nostalgia, you're going to be releasing Delta Rising 2. You've heard it here first. It following up on that, you know, our queues are not proper raid content. Um, whether or not there's an audience for raid content in STO, which I think we've found repeatedly over the years to be not really, there isn't. But do you think like do you think raids could be an interesting and fun thing in STO if they were ever implemented? Like that kind of longer form, several hour content?
I doubt it. Um, you know, whenever we talk about uh, potential ways of changing up the content structure of a game that's this old, you have to remember that a lot of our players are expecting a certain thing out of STO. And if we try to create something that is not that thing, it's a really high risk that it'll fall flat on its face. Case in point, PvEVP queues.
Yeah.
Um, that was an experiment, hoping that players would want to try something new and different. They didn't. Those things basically fell on their face. And obviously, just the fact that it's a different type of content is not 100% of the whole story there. There's other things that go factor into that. But nevertheless, it was one of our biggest forays into this. Conversely, battle zones, adventure zones, those are other things that are off the beaten path and outside of that core, just go and queue into a TFO sort of gameplay that STO has become known for. And those are the players that play that stuff do like it, and they engage with it pretty regularly. We have analytics that show that it's pretty popular. A lot of those zones, not all of them. You know, people still go back and play the Voth battle zone even when it's not the endeavor of the day
Yeah.
to go kill a T-Rex. So but there's something to that. It serves some players' interests, but again, it really comes down to like time invested versus payoff. And ultimately, when we're talking about new content or changes to existing content or anything like that, the way that our content releases work right now is that we have certain expectations for the number of players that return or log in when we do a big seasonal update. And if we don't hit those targets, butts are on the line.
Mm.
Potentially jobs are on the line. So That doesn't mean we will never take risks, but it means that we have to make sure that the risks we're taking are the right ones. We try to do as much analytical evaluation as we can. There might even be like things that we do in the future where we might take player surveys and stuff to help us see if we mitigate or are targeting the right risk factors or things like that. But it's all a risk. And while game dev comes with a level of risk that you're making on a update to update basis on a game this age, sometimes it rides on a pretty thin margin.
Yeah, I mean, this is we saw that in real time. There was an update to I'll just say one of the Cryptic games. You probably all know what it is, but that very deeply rebalanced a lot of the content, and it was a big risk, and it ended up more in a lot of players leaving than in a lot of players being satisfied and staying.
Right.
So that's kind of the cautionary tale up against why don't you try new things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see what else we got. I feel so bad for the whole Zenkethy release because the Zenkethy Battlezone is fun, but it just gets dunked on, and Gravity Kills is fun and easy if you get the particles.
I was waiting for
Uh,
it.
okay, so this is a question, but I don't want you to answer it now, and I'll explain why in a second. And
All
I
right.
guess it is a question. Somebody, I had a thought earlier, and then somebody in chat asked the same thought. And so you can say no if you feel like it would be giving too much away, because that's literally I've prepped you not for asking about this. But would you be interested in coming on the stream again at some point to do a completely hypothetical system design for a Borg cube? So like no promises that it's coming, no thoughts on whether, we do it or not, or if that would be the final design. Just sort of a fun systems design think exercise.
Um,
No is an acceptable answer. I ambushed you with this on stream.
well, no, I'm thinking that like, well, Scope Creep is my middle name,
Huh.
so let's say that, but make it bigger. I think that if I ever did that, I'd probably want to take it so far as having a version of our internal documents that I could show the whole process, like
Yep.
how we do our comparative analysis. But I don't think that I could show off our whole internal document, so I'd have to figure out time to make a
I
version
mean,
of it that was shareable.
we did a stream just like that once, and we accidentally
Yes, we
revealed
did.
all like six of the
Exactly.
upcoming ships. So yeah, I understand the concern.
Exactly. And then also I'd want to walk through the engine and stuff like that. So because it would have a lot of proprietary information that my ass might be on the line for sharing, we'd probably more likely do that on the Cryptic Studios
How
stream.
dare you?
Um,
Oh,
but
it's fine.
and
That
then
makes sense.
you were on there today, so
I
there's
know.
always a chance that it could be co-hosted or guest hosted or
Yeah, no, it's
something.
fine. That makes perfect sense.
There's actually merit to doing that sort of thing with a guest host because they're more likely, like yourself, or maybe that's even more into the shipbuilding
I
side
was
of
gonna
things,
say,
might have
yeah,
really interesting insights to ask questions about why we do things certain ways or what our thought processes are in certain parts of that.
yeah. Having the ship build stream crew come on while you're there showing how a ship is built internally would actually be
Hmm.
really fascinating. So, somebody tell Suna about that, because you're right. That should be something she does. Um, all right. Um, Oh, I see. Muwak wants to know if you can talk more about the walking trees, which means the teasers for the bundle. I'm gonna guess no, but
My favorite way to respond to these sorts of things in Discord is with the GIF of Isildur walking away from
no.
no,
I use that
yeah,
GIF
in Mount Doom.
constantly. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very good. Let's see. Scorpion Design. Hey Scorp. Thanks for all your awesome ships you design. Says concept art stream for a Borg cube would just be opening the Blender default file.
Just a cube.
Just a cube. You're done. Well done, everyone. Let's see. Oh, and you put no in chat too. That's great.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, let me answer this from Tubby.
okay.
Because while I can make no promises, I want to talk a little bit about specializations because this came up recently in a couple different ways internally. So just to put it out there again, like captain specializations, primary specializations are a great way for us as designers to be able to offer new and interesting things with our current ship catalog. You know, we've pretty much done every seating arrangement that can exist on a ship at this point with our current primary specs. So if we were able to find the time to make a new primary specialization, that would open a whole new angle of making primary and secondary spec starships that use that seat. So that'd be great. Um, that'd be great. I'd love to be able to do that. Now, as for like the theming of ideas of what we would want to do with that, first of all, we're not planning to make one anytime soon. So don't get too antsy about this answer, but I've always had this idea that we could do a specialization focused around, as much as it's not my play style, but focused around pets. So some sort of like
Mm.
pets and drones, sort of like drone master or mastermind, to steal a term from City of Villains. Um, that would be like some sort of, you know, just having a point in the tree could give you some sort of passive drone, and then there could be different as like talents within that tree that give your drone special abilities, but also could synergize with things like carrier pets and other creations that you can have on the ground and everything like that. So I don't know exactly what shape that would take or what the bridge officer abilities would look like and all that, but anyway, that's some things that I've been
That's where you get
thinking about.
your more hangers. Every officer ability summons more pets.
Um,
Until we hit the entity
Probably
limit.
not, but many of them, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, you know, in broad terms, like not every power in the pilot tree makes you move around
Yeah.
zippier, right?
Oh, for sure.
We try to offer different varieties of things. So not everything within a pet spec would give you pets, but it would have some sort of specialization to like teammates gain buffs or, you know, something like that.
I want to make sure you
Yeah.
know I was kidding. All right.
Sure, but just because you're kidding doesn't mean I can't think about it seriously.
All right. Well, it has been about an hour and 40 minutes. Jeremy, I really appreciate you taking the time. We
course.
are, I think we're at the point.
Even though I forgot until the last minute that I've agreed to do this.
So I started the Discord call with Jeremy and then went to the bathroom, and because Jeremy hadn't shown up and he was offline on Discord when I left, I called him when I got out of the bathroom, but he was in the Discord call already, so he was like,
Yeah.
"What's up?" And I was like,
I'm
"Your
waiting for
interview,"
you.
and you were like, "I'm here," and I was like, "Shit." But so, folks, thank you all so much for being here. Jeremy, one last question before we wrap up.
Sure.
What is one question about either systems design or lead design work that you always wish you'd be asked, but you haven't been?
Oh, that's a good question, Mike.
Thanks. I stole it from Hot
I'm
Wings.
so glad you asked it.
it.
I don't have an answer prepared. Let me think for a second. It's such a good question that I don't have an answer.
Okay.
What's something that I've always hoped people would ask about? No, yeah, I want to be honest. I get really excited about talking about like future ideas of things that could go into the game, but in my position as a developer, I'm so not allowed to talk
Can't
about
do
that
that.
kind of stuff. So it's weird, and it's always a balancing act because as a player, those are the exact things that I would want to talk about. Or if I was in the player community, then those are the things I would constantly be like engaging with other players about. It's
Yeah,
like,
you might even host a
you know,
podcast
theory
about it.
crafting and yeah.
Uh,
So people always ask, what is Jeremy doing, but never how is Jeremy doing. Thank you.
That's great. Well
I'll do
done,
you one
Scorp.
better. When is Jeremy doing?
Phrasing? No, I think we're good. No problems here. Nothing like the heavy petting joke I made on the
I'm doing
official
fine.
stream.
Thanks.
All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. If you have a thought on the question, I'm sure that you want to be asked, I'm sure you could post it in the Discord and also answer it at the same time. Folks, if you want to engage with the game more, the official Discord is the place to go. You can find the link to that on playstartrekonline.com. If you want to follow me, then I've got some social media you could do that on. I am Vengeance God on Blue Sky and Broken Infinity Films on Instagram. Come and join me too on Discord, where our whole streaming community is there, and it's a whole lot of very fun people. Very, very fun. Sci-Fi 88, man, we almost brought Stoked back, but in a very different form. Jeremy had a great idea for it, but I had no spoons to get it done in the right way.
Right.
We also have
But it kind of morphed into just having regular live streams, which was something we didn't even have that at the time. So it was
I
still a
thought
win.
I thought it was in the opposite order. Anyway, okay. We've got merch. You can click that link that just popped up in the chat for a bunch of fun T-shirts for my stream, and also a lot of STO jokes. So if you want to wear STO stuff on your body, that's a good way to do it. And finally,
It's a
League of Swords!
Swords!
It doesn't have the. I didn't put up the notifications thing. My bad. Is there a?
That's why I sang it for you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Since everyone's been talking about how bad I sing today, I have a beautiful voice. I don't understand. You're all mean. Anyway, if you go, League of Swords is my TV show that combines professional wrestling with sword fights. It is a lot of fun. I believe Jeremy was the primary investor in the first show, and I very much appreciate that. So go click
Pro
on that
wrestling
link.
with swords. That's cool.
So go click on that that link and go check it out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. There should be more coming soon. Obviously, the failed Kickstarter threw a wrench in the tracks for a minute, but we're getting back on track soon. Jeremy, is there anywhere else you want to plug them being able to find you?
No, unfortunately, I haven't been really active on socials lately, so I don't want to point anyone there. Find me on Discord if you need anything.
He's hiding in this basement, hoping players don't find him.
You know, when I first kind of stepped into lead designer, I tried to be more present on Blue Sky, just to engage with people. But then once we got our official Discord, it really just replaced it for me.
Yeah.
The official Discord is the greatest place to get in touch with us as devs. Yeah.
Yeah, it sure is. All right. Well, let's see.
And I don't have any personal projects right now at the time, but I have been thinking about streaming in my free time if I don't know, maybe.
All right. Well, Alice Wetterland is streaming STO, but so is Wolf Gray, and he's actually been in here the stream chatting with us this whole time because he is the master of multitasking. So we are going to give you a raid, Wolf.
Cool.
Say hi to your chat and let them know we're coming. All right. Well, folks, thank you all for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Mike.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.